Hello and welcome back to our Shadows over Innistrad set review video style here on TCGplayer.com. I am Conley Woods. Doing something a little different this time around, so be sure to leave your feedback in the comments below. And this is, of course, a growing process, so whether we do this again next time or do something different, we're certainly wanting to learn and get better at it. But this is what we're doing for this time, so sit back and enjoy this with me. And let's go through the remaining two colors of Innistrad. We'll cover the double-faced cards and the multicolored cards tomorrow. Today we're going to go over the red and the green cards, which will round out all five of the primary colors. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. One thing we're going to be taking note of today are vampires in particular, because we got a good look at some awesome ones yesterday. I have a list to show today. I'm going to show a couple cards that we're not going to talk about yet. I'm not going to actually show them on screen or anything like that, but they're going to be in the list. But we'll talk about them when they come up. Olivia primarily, and I think there's a double-face card in there as well. Yeah, Heir of Falconwrath. But that's because they're vampires, and the vampire deck I think is going to be one of the stronger decks in the upcoming format. But yeah. We are looking at cards basically kind of with a brewer's perspective, my perspective, I guess. Just what can we do with them in terms of decks? What can we build around? What is the new standard going to look like? So, Avacyn's Judgment here is kind of an interesting card because it has the Madness X instead of casting costs, like a bunch of the other cycles, like the From the Floorboards and the whatever the control magic was. I forget what it was. It started with a W, I think. But in either case, those ones, when you pay X, you basically you would get strictly better than. So when you paid 2 for X and the blue one, you would get the 2 toughness creature, and then if you paid 3 for the black one, you would get 3 life and 3 2/2. So you would meet the casting cost of the card. Avacyn's Judgment, you don't. If you only pay 1 into X, you only deal 1 damage off of the Madness, whereas if you just cast it, you deal 2 damage. So that's a little awkward, but outside of that, the card seems perfectly playable. Dividing up damage, 2 mana fire is, fine. Sorcery speed fire, I guess, but that's perfectly fine, I think. It's playable, if nothing else. And the Madness is pretty strong as a late-game option to fireball something out at instant speed even. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about this card. You can include in Madness decks. Obviously, you can include in not Madness decks. It's a pretty versatile little burn spell. It's not like overpowered where it's going to be seen play everywhere, but it'll certainly make some appearances in Standard. All right, we got Blood Mad Vampire. This guy's playable. I think all the vampires with reasonable rates are playable. 3 mana, 4/1 with Madness is playable alone, just because the Madness is cheaper. And a 3 mana 4/1 is not like a terrible rate. I think that would be borderline playable in a vampire deck. I think this first ability makes it slightly more borderline playable because if it gets 1 hit in, it's already done its job. It's already gotten 4 points of damage in. It's probably either going to trade with another creature or get in another 4 points of damage. That's or a removal spell. But it's done its job. 3 mana to get in 4 damage and do whatever. So this ability is kind of, if it gets in there, it's nice. You get a little bonus, but it's not necessarily boosting the card too much power level-wise. The card's probably like a 5 out of 10. It's not a great card. You're very likely to not run it in Constructed, but it is playable. So if you're short on playables or you need a 3-drop in your curve for your vampire deck, this is something to at least look at. I think there's enough playable vampires, though, that will not need to go that route. Burn from Within, our second blaze of the day. This one, very strange clause where it makes things lose indestructible and then exiles them. I imagine this is not constructed playable. I mean, unless some specific indestructible creature sees play, this just doesn't. I mean, just going straight to the dome with X, it's just not a great constructed quality card. So, I mean, maybe it sees some play. I doubt it though. Alright, Dance with the Devils, another not too exciting card. I think the rate's just a little too bad here. Although getting the things at instant speed is nice. It's just too bad of a rate. Insane and limited, though. Assume that's a very strong limited card. Devil's Playground. This time we get a little bit better rate. We get 4 creatures for 6 mana, and then we get essentially 4 damage at a minimum on top of that. So, I don't know. I doubt either of these effects will be super playable, especially when we have like Hortling Outburst. That's been kind of setting the bar at 3 tokens for 3 mana, so 4 mana for 2 tokens and 6 mana for 4 tokens is not the most appealing rates. but if maybe there'll be some devil thing going on, I don't know. I'm not too excited by either of these cards. The rates are just kind of bleh. Like if this were like 5 mana instant, then I would be really excited. If this were 3 mana, I would be pretty excited, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not even 100%. I would be pretty excited. All right. Dimension in, or Dissension, Dimension. Dimension in the ranks. The people going through dimensional portals and being sucked into the world. This year, it's 5 mana, limited removal spell. Let's ignore it. This card, also a limited card, but certainly playable and constructed. It's instant, and it's 1 mana, which is obviously as cheap as you can get. So, like, against the all-in red-green combo deck, for example, Tarka Red, you could, like, take off 2 things super early, like kill their, I don't know, their 3/1 goblin that gives everything +1/+0, and a random goblin token or something like that. Just being able to trade 1 mana at instant speed for potentially 2 real cards out of some decks makes this a perfectly viable card. It is not an exciting card to think about. It's a sideboard card almost 100% of the time, but you know it is playable for sure. Moving on to another not exciting card. All right, we're just gonna keep moving. This might be playable in Wolves. I doubt it, but we'll keep it. We'll note it. Actually, I'm gonna write down Wolves because we're going over red and green today. So Wolves are gonna be one of the big themes that we're gonna see all day long. So I'm just gonna go ahead and note any Wolves we see over here, and then eventually we're also gonna have a vampire list over here. So that'll be kind of our 2 things we're tracking today. All right, here's one of our vampires, Falcon Wrath Gorger. So let's do this guy over here. Like this guy a lot. He's obviously a vampire lord of sorts in that he gives all your vampires madness, and because there's enough vampires that actually manipulate the discarding of cards, that works out pretty well. It's just a 1 mana 2/1 with a lot of upside. Also, just a 1 mana 2/1 is perfectly playable. You know, Elite Vanguard's playable from time to time, especially when his creature type matters, and this time his creature type definitely matters. So, yeah, this guy's. I mean, he's a rare for a reason. This is a very strong card, and he will end up in the deck because there are not a million 1-drops. Fiery Temper at common surprises me a little bit because it felt like it would probably be uncommon, but I'm pretty happy about this. It is, as a madness card, it is a 1 mana bolt, which is insane. You get instant speed, 1 mana, deal 3 damage to our creature player, and replace a discard spell or a discarded card, which is that card is like through the roof strong. 3 mana makes it, when you're casting this, it's obviously not nearly to spec, but it is still reasonable. It's not like an unplayable card. You're not spending 6 mana on 5 damage or something like a limited only style mechanic. Like 3 mana for a fast volcanic hammer is not. Oh, I don't know why I'm saying fast volcanic hammer. For a lightning bolt, that's the card. For a lightning bolt is not that bad. But you're playing Fiery Temper primarily in a deck that is going to have madness outlets, like the vampire deck most likely. If our vampires are getting madness, Fiery Temper makes a lot of sense in there. And just having any bolt variation back in the format is kind of nice. So we didn't get Circular Logic back, got Fiery Temper back. Pretty excited about that. It's going to go in all kinds of decks. For anyone interested in what we have discard-wise, I got this little thing. By the way, back here, if anyone was trying to figure out what these were all the vampires that are currently in Standard, not in the new set. So there's quite a few really good ones, as you can already see. There's Kalidas here. There's Drana, which is really, really strong. I think Carrier Throw is pretty playable. This guy's playable in an ally shell. I'm not sure about here. Or in like an aggro shell. But yeah, I already have some good vampires to work off of, which is kind of impressive. In terms of discard, I think Sib Sig Icebreakers is one of my favorites just because he's kind of decent rate and he does an interesting thing. Obviously, Jace is one of the best in the format that you can get your hands on. Oath of Jace, I think, should start seeing way more play as a result of this card. None of these are great. Oh, Tormenting Voices is very strong, and it got reprinted in this set as well. So definitely consider Tormenting Voice. Obviously, you're not going to play it in a Vampire deck because the Vampire deck is going to have plenty of discard outlets anyway. But it's good just to know, like, you know, if you're playing not a creature-heavy deck, what options do you have? Chandra works as well, her middle ability. All right, moving on to Flame Blade Angel. So we got some red angels in the set, which is kind of cool, I guess. This one is easily the worst of them. 6 mana, 4/4 flyer that. You know, when you get dealt damage, you deal 1 damage back to that thing, whether it's a creature. Wait, I guess. Yeah, it's a creature or. No, you only hit the source's controller. Okay. So you just deal damage to the opponent. That's, I don't know. I guess it's a thing. I'm not. I'm not inspired. Geist Blast is one of the strangest cards ever. Can I get an amen? Like, what the hell? So we got 3 mana shock. Okay. That's a thing, sure. Like, you're like, oh, limited card. And then 3 mana exile it from your graveyard to fork something, and this is an uncommon? Like, what the? How, those are not the same card. Those don't even do the same thing. Shock and then fork for different colors? What the hell is going on? I just don't understand this card. This card's potentially just busted because I don't know how to wrap my mind around it. So, like, being able to exile it from your graveyard for that spell effect is potentially very powerful. So this card is likely playable. I just don't know what to do with it. I don't... It's... What? Somebody write Wizard and ask them what this card is about. It's just... I don't even get the flavor. Geist Blast, so it's a ghost. So it's dealing 2 damage, but then... Why is it forking something? What's that do with... What's the Geist... Like, if it... Is it coming back from the dead? Why wouldn't it just flashback for 2 damage? I don't get it. It makes no sense. I gotta move on before I kill myself. Alright. Break free. I mean, this guy's fine. He's 2 mana, 2/1 that deals a damage and then can deal some more damage. So he's probably playable in non-tribal decks because he's a devil. There might be a devil tribal deck. I shouldn't rule that out completely, but I doubt it anytime soon. Oh, the dreaded 4/9, aka 13. Gold Knight Castigator. 4 mana, 4/9 flying haste is insane. The drawback is a real drawback, but there are decks in which that drawback does not matter against. So people are making fun of Shaheen Sarani because he... wait, did I pass New Wolves? I don't think so. I think I've been good, but okay. People are making fun of Shaheen Sarani because he always plays blue-white control, and like, what does blue-white control do against this card? Like, they either 1-for-1 and deal with it after taking 4 damage, and that's it. That's basically, or they just take a bunch of damage over time. Like, flying and haste are both strong against that deck. Its downside doesn't exist against that deck. It's great at attacking planeswalkers. 9 toughness prevents it from dying to most burn spells. You're going to have to double up on a burn spell, like a lightning bolt, and even a 4 damage burn spell can't kill this, so that's pretty important. But yeah, I don't know. This card is just awesome, I think. It's a super sweet card. I don't know how much main deck play it will see because it is so risky against a lot of decks. But then again, if it's coming down and killing them or making it nearly killing them, putting them to like a really low life total that you're going to die next turn, then its downside isn't even that bad against even a creature deck. But I'm not 100% sold on this being a main deck card. I do think it will be a very, very strong like control on control type card or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a super sweet design. I'm really excited. A 4/9 is just like really cool stats to look at. Yeah, this guy, he's not really Hellrider in that he might go in the top end of some aggro decks to finish people off, but he's not. She, I guess maybe it's a fallen angel, I guess. She's not like as good with the rest of the deck. Like Hellrider comes down and deals like 8 or 9 damage immediately. This only deals 4 all the time, which is fine, but you really want to get in multiple hits with this typically, so it's not as good as like a alpha play this and kill you. So Harness of Storm's a card I want to love, but the fact you have to cast the second spell that you target, you have to pay its mana, is like very saddening. I mean, I'm sure this card's probably just busted, but I don't know. I haven't started brewing around it yet. I'm sure I'll brew around it in the future. It feels like a modern card. It feels like you can't really do much with this in Standard. I guess maybe you could do something with it in Legacy probably too. But yeah, this is one of those cards that you would think I love, but it feels like way too much work for too little of an output. So I've ignored it thus far. But feel free to please brew around this card and send me suggestions because I'm sure the card has some busted options. I don't know what formats those are in, but it's an interesting card at least. All right, we got 3 mana, 3/3 Wolf that can't block unless that guy's not playable. Let's move on. 4 mana, 5/2 double. That guy's not playable. Move on. Incorrigible Use is very, very playable. We're going to add him to the Vampire list. So this guy's basically Arrogant Worm. You're paying same upfront cost, same madness cost, same power. You get a keyword. Haste is arguably better than Trample because it's more... Well, it's worse if you madness this out on your opponent's turn. But it's better if you madness out on your turn because you get an extra 4 damage. If you madness out on your opponent's turn, obviously the haste is irrelevant, and at that point Trample is just strictly better. But I would say if you do madness on your own turn, Having trample is worse than having haste, probably. But at the same time, this does lose a point of toughness. It gains a very, very relevant creature type, though, and in a deck that wants to be discarding cards. So I would expect this to be heavily played in Standard. I would expect the Vampire deck to be one of the more consistent tribal decks to come out of Innistrad. This card will probably see play elsewhere as well, like, maybe just in like aggressive red decks that just burn you out or something with Fiery Temper. But yeah, this card is sweet, and he is going into the Vampire deck. Noted him. He's noted. All right, target creature deals damage with itself 4 mana. No thank you. This Vampire, so we know we're going to play the 1 mana 2/1, the Gorger, but Neonate is... Wait, where did my preview pane go? Get back over here. Let me pull this back down, because I'm looking at vampires. Because if you look here, we have basically no 1-drops. And the 1-drops we do have are the 1 mana 2/1, which is going to make it. And then we have the 1 mana 1/1 lifelink, the Aristocrats... Gorger, no, Aristocrat something. I don't know. We looked at it yesterday. I'll pull it up here in a second. But we have those 2 cards, and outside of that, Indulgent Aristocrat is the same. Outside of that, we really don't have anything else for 1-drops. So we need to at least consider this guy. But I think he's pretty bad. 1 mana 1/1 that gets in a point of damage over turn is like bleh. That's the best I could do. And you can discard a card and trigger a madness and sacrifice this to draw a card, which is like, it's a thing, but you don't really want to sacrifice your vampires to trigger madness and draw a card. So, I don't think so, at least. I don't know. I'm gonna note him because he's a 1-drop and he's not total dog do, but I'm not too excited by him. Lightning Axe is a good one. Probably we'll see play in some amount of control decks that want to play things like Fiery Temper and other madness outlets while playing a reasonable removal spell. 1 mana killing a creature is like at instant speed is pretty good. So Lightning Axe should be a heavily played standard card in various control decks, mid-range decks, madness decks, even some aggro decks as sideboard option. Just 1 mana kill your big blocker is like pretty good. So pretty generic card, but it should see a lot of play. Mad Prophet's back. I like his art this time around. He's still a limited only card, but he's Mad Prophet. I don't know anything to say. Mad Prophet just kind of has a special place in my heart. He's back. Magmatic Chasms reprint. I think it's already in standard. The art is sweeter. It's got a carriage blowing up or something weird, but it's not playable. All right, moving on. Active Treason with Madness for the same as its mana cost, but it does turn into an instant, making it Ray of Command. So I don't know how good this is. Giving something +2/+0 is a nice little bonus. In general, I think you're still going to play Active Treason or Eldrazi Obligator, depending on which deck you are, because spending the extra mana on this seems way worse. But then again, maybe you're the Vampire deck or something, and you have plenty of ways to madness this. In general, I would expect the cheaper variants to see play with this, but who knows? Pyre Hound is pretty cool. Whenever he casts instant or sorcery, he gets a +1/+1 counter. So, or no, he gets a +1/+1 counter. So he's a common, so he doesn't have a great rate because he needs to be balanced for limited. So he's a 4 mana 2/3. If this were like a rare, it'd probably be like a 4 mana 4/4 and have like haste or something, and then it would be a badass with that ability. But because it's common and because it has to be balanced for limited, its body starts off relatively small. That said, it is kind of a build-aroundy card, of course. You can, if you can play 2 spells, this thing gets up to a 4 mana 4/5. It's not like you have to pay any extra mana after you play this thing, so having a 4 mana 4/5 trample is pretty good, and then every instant sorcery you cast from that point forward is going to grow this like. I'm not super inspired by this, but I think it is playable. The fact that the bonus is permanent just makes this way more attractive than if you got +1/+0 until no turn or something like that. All right, moving on. Ravenous Bloodseeker, another vampire. This one is also pretty good. This is basically Aquamoeba. You discard a card to give it +2/-2 instead of switching its power and toughness, but because it's a 1/3. If you don't have this modified in any way, shape, or form, that is just switching its power and toughness. Now, where this works out better for us is if we somehow have a Lord in play that has given this an extra 2 points of toughness, we can activate its ability twice to make it 5 power, which is kind of cool. Well, 5 power plus the probably +1/+1 twice, so probably 7 power in that case. That said, the fact that when you're not discarding a card, you're only getting in 1 damage with this worries me a little bit. That seems like kind of a bad rate. And I don't think 2-drops are gonna be a place where we're hurting. Like we have Carrier Throw sitting here already. We also know about the Asylum Visitor, which is like one of my favorite cards in the set. That's a 2-drop. We know about Olivia's Bloodsworn, which is the 2-drop flyer that gives vampires haste. That's again another 2-drop. So I feel like our 2-drop slot might be full, but this is definitely an option. It's not a bad card by any stretch. Reduce 2 ashes. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. 1 mana +2/+1 and trample. Worse than Titan Strength by a long shot, but playable. That's basically my assessment for it. If you're looking for a Titan Strength type of card, this is playable. You can consider it. You could play it in your cheap deck that wants to play a lot of spells and prowess and whatnot. But it is not as good as Titan Strength. That losing the point of power is probably worse than trample, and losing the scry is almost certainly worse than trample. That said, trample has value, so it's not like a complete loss. 2 mana 1/3 prowess. This guy is now red. I don't know why. He was white before. He was Jeskai student, I think, or student of Jeskai. It's weird. Ooh, we get Scourge Wolf. So that's another wolf. I think. Yeah, the last wolf was unplayable. So Scourge Wolf is legit. I'm a big fan of First Strike, and specifically First Strike plus Double Strike means that you get around the archetype of First Strike from Theros. So now you lose your First Strike, you're like, nah, I got Double Strike, bro, and you keep getting in there because you're a wolf. That's what you do. Yeah, this card's obviously very, very playable. I think 2 mana 2/2 First Strike is like reasonable. Double Strike isn't awesome. Hopefully, there's going to be some wolf tribal to help us out. If you look at the wolves that are currently in the set before this set, this is all you get. You get Timberpack Wolf, which is I guess good. I wish you got +1/+1 for every wolf and not just other Timberpack Wolves. And then you got Somberwald Alpha, who again is maybe playable. Like he's good against aggro decks, I guess. But that's not a lot of wolf options. So we're gonna hope for the best. Scourge Wolf is exciting with Delirium though. Playable without Delirium. He's not great, but a reasonable wolf, a reasonable 2-drop. Probably gonna be a pain in the butt on our mana. Madness +2/+2, probably very, very, very fringe playable. Not too exciting. Ooh, Sin Prodder. This guy is kind of a weird little package. So he's another devil, and he's kind of a cliche-looking devil. So you get a 3/2 menace. That's fine for 3 mana. But the thing is, every turn you reveal the card, if you reveal a land, your opponent is very, very likely to obviously put it in the graveyard and take 0. I can't imagine them not doing that, but maybe they don't because of Delirium. That's maybe the only time they don't. So basically, lands are always dead with this. So that's 35 to 40% of your deck is dead when you reveal this. The other percent, which has casting costs, all are going to deal some amount of damage and/or draw you a card some amount of time, which is pretty strong. So I would say it's probably like 40% of the time you draw, or 40% of the time you deal damage to the opponent, 40% of the time you do nothing, and 20% of the time you draw. I would imagine is roughly the breakdown. Because every time you reveal a 1 or 2 casting cost, your opponent's likely to just take that damage. Every time you reveal a 3, 4, 5, you're probably going to likely be drawing a card. Maybe not 3s, but definitely 4 or 5s. And then every time you reveal a land, you're just hitting a blank. But yeah, this card feels very, very playable, especially in like a Delirium deck. Especially in just any type of like good mid-range or aggressive deck that doesn't necessarily need any tribal synergies or anything like that. I don't know. This card just he excites me for how simple he is, but he seems pretty cool. Also, well, he seems pretty hot because he's standing in the fire. So I'm gonna go with that. We're gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going. So the Masquerade I want to like, but I just don't think it's good enough for vampires. It has madness, which is cool. It gives your vampires that get in +1/+1, which is kind of lame. I mean, it gives them a counter, so they're that big forever. But like again, my guys have already gotten in there. The only relevant part of this thing is that attacking creatures you control have first strike, and you can madness this. So if you ever get that situation where you get blocked and then you're able to madness this out and first strike your opponent's death, then you just blow up everything and you win the game. But that's only going to happen in creature on creature battles, happen when you have a discard guy out, and happen when the blocks line up to let you like actually get away with it. So I'm not sold on this card. It feels kind of clunky. But, you know, do your thing. Enjoy it. If that's what you like. Exiling lands or artifacts and dealing 2 damage to that permanent's controller is exactly what I want to do with my life. This card is certainly fringe playable. It's good in potentially land destruction decks, obviously, land death decks, or maybe red-green ramp, or, I don't know, maybe burn, I guess. This kind of, what is going on in the, it's like a X-Wing being blown up here. I really have no idea what's going on in the artwork, but we'll just roll with it. All right, next card, Structural Distortion out of the way. Tormenting Voice, as we already talked about this, Tormenting Voice is right here. It's already in Standard. It's a very good card. This art is better, and you got, like, hands coming out of the artwork, and then this guy's just, like, talking. I don't know. She's very scared. But, yeah, this card should go up way up in value as just, like, a reasonable card to trigger your Madness card and get card advantage out of it. All good in the Tormenting Voice hood. That's what they say. Ooh, another wolf. Ulrich's Kindred. And this is actually... this is... Anyone that plays League of Legends is a little weirded out by this right now. Like, did they have a Kindred in the set before Kindred, the champion? I just don't know. I just don't know. But this card is cool. 3 mana, 3/2 trample is like... I would call it... insultingly playable, as in like it's the card you don't want to run, but you're like, I just need a creature. As I told the story of Highland Ghoul, I played a black for a 2/1 fear, 2/1 intimidate in a pro tour. And it's a common. It's like not a good card in any way, shape, or form. But it's like sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And this is a wolf. It also has a wolf or werewolf tribal ability that is quite strong. It's a bluffing ability. You don't want to ever spend 4 mana, or you don't want to spend multiple times because you can't. So it's more of just like a bluffing ability. But making an attacking thing indestructible is reasonable, and it's obviously a pretty flavorful little card. So you know, I'm down with the Kindred, down with the wolf. Uncaged Fury is +1/+1 and double strike is actually moderately playable. If you just read this as deal 2 damage to the opponent plus your creature strength and damage plus any bonuses. Yeah, that's simple. You understand what I'm saying. Moving on. My point is this might be playable. For example, we have the Volshock the Volshock. What the hell's the name of the card? The card that currently gives double strike. It gives trample and double strike. Like when it rotates, this card gives you spend 1 more mana on this, but you get +1/+1 on the deal, which is not that bad, and you get unconditional double strike. So this could easily be a card in like a Tarka Red style decks. Obviously, we lost Become Immense. I believe we lost Become Immense. I hope we lost Become Immense. Let me check. Yes, we did. So you probably don't have to worry about double strike, but it's a note. It's a card. It does a thing. 4 red mana. So Matt Nass, who I work with, I work at Direwolf Digital for anyone that's not familiar, and I work right next to Matt Nass, and he is convinced that this card is going to be busted in Modern, and Matt Nass knows combo decks. So I don't know what this is going to do in Standard. It's potentially broken in Standard, as you do untap on turn 3 with 5 mana, which is essentially Seething Song, and you get an enchantment in your graveyard. You know, even just getting out of Chandra on turn 4 is not the worst idea in the world. But Matt Nass is convinced that this card is going to be good in Modern. It's going to be like Electromancer-ish in how it plays in the Storm deck. You played on turn 2, and on turn 3 you win. So yeah, I would look for it in Modern. I would look for it in Storm decks. I would look for it in potentially red decks that play Arcsauger. That's a node back to Seething Song in Old Standard. All right, we have 2 more cards in red, and we're gonna move to the final green ones. This guy, another vampire. I'm gonna note him. I don't think he's good enough, although he's borderline, because haste and unblock and making something not be able to block combined to make this a sort of Hellrider. You're spending 4 mana, you're getting 3 damage out of this, theoretically, and if your opponent has 1 or 2 creatures to block, and you prevent that all or half of them from blocking, you're getting in a bunch of surprise damage out of nowhere. Now, this is a common, again, so it was probably designed for limited, which means the stats are probably way modest and probably not strong enough for constructed, but it's close enough that I'm at least willing to stop and mention. Wolf of Devil's Breach. Now, this is another wolf. We're just getting all the rare wolves out of the way. This guy's got a cool text box where you discard spells from your hand, you pay 2, and you deal damage equal to the convert mana cost of the spell. Unfortunately, I think that I don't really feel why this is a mythic. It doesn't feel mythic. It's 5 mana 5/5 with that. Oh, it only hits creatures or planeswalkers even. Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of this card as a mythic. It seems tough to play with in constructed because you have to play your 5 mana 5/5, untap with it, and then attack, pay 2 mana, discard a card, and you can kill a creature or a planeswalker. Like that's a good line of text, but again, you're playing a vanilla 5 mana 5/5, and it doesn't do anything until it can attack. Now, maybe the fact that it is a wolf again will push this over the top because like this card is way more constructed playable than the 4 mana 3/2 we just looked at. Or the 3 mana 3/2. But the he's not in terms of like a standalone card that you're going to be seeing a bunch of in standard. I doubt you won't see a ton of this guy, but he might be good enough in the tribal deck. But yeah, that is all of the red cards. So we're going to move over to the green cards. We're going to stop the video. And we'll be right back to tackle this. We're going to aim high, apparently, because that's where green starts. So I am Conley Woods. This has been Shadows over Innistrad, looking at red. Oh, actually, before I do that, I have the vampire list. I'm going to go ahead and post this at least. And I'll leave this up through the next video. So this includes the multis and the double-faced cards. But I think this is at least a good starting point for vampires. And I think you can get away with 4 ofs. You could potentially even get away with 4 Drana and 4 Kalitas just because you have discard outlets. And I'm not going to talk about all the cards you don't necessarily know the names of yet because we're going to get to them later on. And by later on, I mean tomorrow. But I just wanted to put this up for anybody that was looking for at least a starter position for vampires. This is certainly not going to be the ending place. You're going to need probably different removal spells and like a different curve and all kinds of stuff like that. But I think this is one of the stronger decks that will probably exist in the new standard. So at least early on, because it's just kind of a put it together, falls into place tribal deck that is really aggressive and has card advantage. So but yeah. Consider this deck. We'll be right back with the green cards. I'm Conley Woods. This is TCGplayer.com. Walking you through Shadows over Innistrad. Done with red. Back with green.